Welcome to Storywise. I'm Eric, and today we're going to be talking about my experience with Robin Hobb's The Ship of Magic. It says on the cover, addictive as morphine. That is not true, but it is a damn good book. I had a wonderful time reading this book. It is the biggest book I've ever read, 880 pages. There's a certain element of that I thought was pretty cool, or I was proud of myself for crossing a threshold, because I do believe in life. In all of its forms and all of its areas, we cross these thresholds, and it's important to denote that we've done so, because now a new world is possible for us. That includes, for me, some of these bigger books that I thought I couldn't read. I now know I can if I'm interested. So, very positive takeaway there. When I first started reading this book, I was nervous because it was slow. There was a lot of world building, a lot of explaining what was in the room or the environment, which is good, and it was done very well. It's just in a book that's not my jam. That's not what I'm looking for. I'm more interested in getting to know the characters and expanding that world as we go. But this book, Robin Hobb, does a very good job of explaining everything she sees, building the world. I know that's something people love, so this is an amazing example of that. But the thickness of this book, I believe, could still be reduced and be just as wonderful, if not better, for me personally. That's why it's not my number one overall pick, but it very well could have been. This is a theory I have about my personal tastes. I haven't really read a book over 500 pages, between 500 and 600 pages, that enhanced the experience by going beyond that mark. It feels like anywhere between 300 and 500 pages is a sweet spot for me. I don't know if that's fact. That's just what I've been observing as I read more and more. The issue with Ship of Magic was, and I'm going to say the issue before I get into the glowing review, because that's pretty much what I have is a glowing review, but there are issues that I think are important to talk about, especially if you haven't read this book, because in understanding the issues as I dealt with them, committing to read it, I found my solutions, and I want to share that with you. So I was struggling for the first 100 pages of this book. There was moments, of course, but I felt after the first intro, the first, you learn who Captain Kennett is. This was great, and then it pivots to other characters. You are jumping between many storylines. Kennett, wow, this is really cool. And then you go out here, and then I was losing it because it was a lot slower and a lot more world building versus this moment happening, which is still world building. I got taken out of the story, and I felt like, oh my God, I really wanted to get to the next thing I cared about. And I went online and I looked up, is this a slow book? What are people experiencing with it without any spoilers? And I found that by and far, most people said it is worth all of the slow, but yes, it is a slow book. It doesn't pick up until like 3/4 of the way through or half the way through. And I'm like 440 pages before maybe it picks up. Oh my God. Okay. But at least I know it goes somewhere, and I got in my head, like, this is not cool. Why do they have to be so long? Why do these books have to go on so long? And thankfully it didn't take that long. It did pick up before the halfway point, and I'm grateful for that, because once it picked up, it wasn't as addictive as morphine, but I began to devour it. And the primary thing that I devoured were the characters. The character development, the uniqueness of each character, of the live ships, of the people, was so well done, and the situations in the world tested these characters better than I've ever read anywhere else. It also contains my favorite villain of all time. If you read this book, you'll quickly know that Kyle sucks, and so does his daughter Malta. But they suck in the best way possible, because I've read characters who are vile, we don't like them, whatever, but this character of Kyle and Malta are so rooted in psychology and so well portrayed, because the thing that makes someone in my real world, someone I can't stand most, is when their villain nature, their hatred, their ignorance is rooted so closely to fact that I can understand why they believe what they believe. And Kyle is the best written character that I've ever read, that is so honest in his belief, but so wrong about what is good and what is right. So it's so hard, because every time you see him in a situation, he's twisting it to fit his narrative. He's twisting it to make the worldview he has correct. And you get moments where you see just a sliver where he might open his mind to something else, but then quickly it slams the door because the situation for 5 seconds was going in his way. Then it slams and he's like, I'm dead. You're dead to me. And Malta is the same way, where she is very much her father in the sense that she can justify any situation why she's the victim of it. Kyle is the hero. He believes he's the hero, but Malta believes she's always a victim and things would be better if my father was here. Or if you just believed I was telling the truth, then I wouldn't have to lie so much and I would be honest about it, but I don't want to prove you right. So there's all of these beautiful layers of flaws that make you want to wring these characters' necks, but you're also just stunned with how well it's done. And it makes you root so hard for the other characters to finally make them take their medicine. And so I've never had that experience in a book where I am just rooting so hard for the other people because I want that person, I want Kyle to see the error of his ways. And that might never come. You don't know the payoff, what it's going to be, but you're hoping for it and you're hungry for it. And that's what drives you in the story. And that's a new experience for me. The other thing I really want to point out is Althea, the female lead character. She is connected to the live ship through her father, who owns the live ship and passes away early in the book. Sorry for the spoiler, but it happens. The thing I like about her is she is a very flawed female character, but she's very redeemable. It's just certain things don't quite add up in the beginning, and because of bad things that happen, unfair things that happen, again, brilliantly done, because you want this positive thing to happen, but it's ripped away from her. You're mad about it. You just don't want this for her. And then she kicks and screams about it, but then takes action on her own. No one's telling her to do it. In fact, people are telling her not to do it, essentially, but she goes out because she knows she must. She doesn't even know if she's right. She just knows she has to do it. And for my daily heroic mindset, when I was a coach, I always told people that one of the qualities of a hero is that they do what they must, not just what they want. So her going out and doing this thing allows her to feel the weight of her own part in the problem, why she has flaws and why she needs to deal with them to grow and be ready for whatever blessing might come her way. This is something I don't see a lot in characters because it's not so much a self-awareness. It's most likely someone is kind of pointing out to them their flaws. And yes, Kyle, the jerk that he is, isn't wrong about what is wrong with Althea. He's not wrong that she has these issues, or that she's spoiled, or she was coddled, or she gets to play sailor. She's not a real sailor, so get off my ship. He's not wrong about that, but the way he goes about it is completely wrong. And she's not aware of it, so she has to go out on her own and maybe figure out if that's true or not, even though she doesn't believe it is. So the world tests her. Her path tests her as a hero to open up to where she is flawed and where she needs to do work. And as a beautiful character, she does this. She teaches herself, she humbles herself, but she doesn't lose her edge or her bite. And that's one of the other things I liked about Althea, is she doesn't change who she is fundamentally. She just matures. She realizes where this process is building her into something better. So when what she wants is achieved, she will be better equipped for it. She's not going to maybe thank Kyle for his ignorant ways to force her on this path, because that wasn't just his decision. That there are other people that she cares about that influence that decision. And the way this book dances with all of that is brilliant. That's what made 880 pages worth reading, is the character work. And everything I've read online about Robin Hobb is masterclass in character work. This is where you're going to find it. And I agree. As I was reading it as an aspiring author myself, I was stunned by the way she did this. And I tried to take away things that she was doing that were show, don't tell. Even though I don't fully obey that rule, because I think it is okay to tell. You just have to know why you're breaking a rule, because rules can be broken. They're just good guidelines to, get you somewhere close to where you want to be. And so watching her craft these characters and put them in situations that tested them in really great ways, but also didn't overtly tell you that. It didn't matter who it was, if it was Althea, Kyle, or any one of the other main side characters, even some characters who didn't have that much page time, were still in this same flow. It didn't matter how much page time a character had. You could see this element, this uniqueness, and that they had their own agenda, their own struggle they were going through, and own wants. And I think it's brilliant. And I don't even understand, because did she sit down with each character and plot that out, because it felt like she did. It felt so intentional, but so natural, unforced. And I don't know how you get to that level, because I've never read it anywhere else. Like, this isn't my number one book because there were too many areas where it did slow down for me and I lost interest and didn't care about it, and I wanted to get back into it. Now this is, again, like I said, 880 pages. I'm saying easily 600 and some pages were solid. Wow, this is amazing. It was the other stuff that kind of pulled me out and took it out of a number one spot. Still, that belongs to Tress of the Emerald Sea, because there was so infrequent a moment where I lost that interest. But the character work in Ship of Magic is the masterclass. If you want to write and you want to write characters well, sit with and devour this book, because it is a master's degree in book form if you listen to it and if you analyze it and you try to embody some of the philosophies that I think she applies to her writing once you see them. And I'm hoping that I can do something like that, not to emulate her, but to be influenced by her, because I believe every author is an amalgamation of the influences that have inspired him or her over time. It's an unconscious process, but we can bring a little consciousness to it and be a little bit more aware of how we're developing our characters or plots, our story, and how it tests all of these things. It's like this triangle of swirling whatever interactions that build a story. I know this is out of order, but I would recommend this book, this series, The Live Ship Traders. I've only read the first book, so we'll see if the rest of the series is good. But it is the second series in the Elderlings Chronicles, or something to that degree. I forget what her overarching series is called. But yes, I haven't read the other ones, but they happen in the same universe, but each book series is a standalone kind of thing within the universe. So it's okay to start here, and I'm glad I did. Very excited to get back into her world at some point, but I'm going to take a break from it for now. I have some other books that I want to read. This is a commitment, so I think I'll spend about 3 weeks or the better part of a month getting through this one book, and that's cool. But I also like to make that progress where I'm chunking through and knocking some things off of my list and then slow down for these bigger, longer books. But that progress, that satisfaction of progress, is kind of a thing for me. And you're going to commit to a bit of time, at least if you're me, to a chonker like this. So it'll be good to get back to some shorter reads. And hopefully I enjoy them as well and can be inspired by them. So again, highly recommend Ships of Magic by Robin Hobb, The Live Ship Traders, Book 1. If you've read it, let me know what inspired you about it, what, got you addicted like morphine. I'm sure you didn't, but if that took on a different tone to you, please let me know what that is. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next video. And until then, journey well, my friends.